Hi everyone, it's Anne, and I'm here to talk to you about gut health. So, did you know that you have a second brain? That we have two brains, one in our head and one in our bowel? And that if they don't cooperate, there will be huge chaos in the gut and then misery in the head. And I think we've all been there with the cramps, the diarrhea, the constipation. And it's not like that saying, happy wife, happy life. But in this circumstance, it's happy gut, happy butt. So we'll start off with some cool facts. Did you know that the gut doesn't need the brain's input to digest? It's one of the only organs that doesn't need the brain's assistance. That there are more than 100 million brain cells in your intestines. That your gut has its own nervous system. It controls digestion and elimination. And that there's this information highway from your gut to your brain. It's the vagus nerve. 90% of the fibers carry information from the gut to the brain, not the other way around. And so, in other words, the brain is interpreting the gut signals as emotions. So, you really should trust your gut. Serotonin, that's in your brain, right? But which one? 90% of your serotonin is actually in your gut. That marvelous mood molecule is found in your gut. Diet, medications, antibiotics, these can all wreak havoc on your mood. A healthy gut may protect your bones. Scientists discovered that increased gut serotonin is good for bone density reduction in osteoporosis. And there's links between autism and having fewer strains of gut bacteria. So 9 out of 10 cases, autistic people have common gut imbalances like leaky gut syndrome and fewer strains of good bacteria. So we need to start putting more good bacteria into our stomachs. And we're going to talk about how to do that. A couple other cool things, like food. Does it really affect your mood? Can it affect your mood? Absolutely. So foods like fatty foods like French fries, that brings happiness and pleasure because it triggers the release of dopamine. And carbs actually release serotonin that feel good. Your gut is actually your best friend when you're sick. It houses 70% of the immune cells that are killing and expelling pathogens, and it's working to help get you over what ails you. It's another reason to be careful when you're using antibiotics because that'll actually wipe out the good bacteria that's helping you get over the flu and the cold. So, what other things can cause poor gut health? We'll talk a little bit more about these, but stress, good stress, bad stress, controlling your stress, diet, foods are you eating, antibiotics, and the overuse, possible overuse of them, gluten, celiac, allergens, intolerances, and other sensitivities. So let's talk about stress. Stress can affect your body, your thoughts, your feelings, and your behavior. And you need to be able to recognize the common stress symptoms that you have. And if left unchecked, it can contribute to health problems in the future. So it's important to start learning how that you're going to deal with stress. Gluten, you can do an elimination diet. It's not really a diet, but it's a way to determine what foods are causing symptoms. It might take a couple of weeks, but you may be eventually able to bring certain foods back into your diet in moderation. Allergens, learn about the dirty dozen and the fruits and vegetables with the pesticides and any other chemical insensitivities, probably mold and fragrances. Leaky gut syndrome. We talked about a little bit about that with autism. But did you know that it can lead to depression and dementia? Scientists are coming out with the additional information, and it's all linked at the bottom there. You can get some more information. So let's talk about a few strategies to improve your gut health. And we'll talk about these a little bit more too, but limiting your carb intake, taking a probiotic, eating fermented foods and high fiber foods, and limiting the use of NSAID. We'll talk about these in a minute. So the first one, limiting your refined carb intake. So harmful bacteria actually thrives on sugar. I'll say that again because it's pretty important. Harmful bacteria thrives on sugar. So slowly start removing a little bit of sugar out of your diet. Start taking a probiotic supplement. Beneficial bacteria improves your gut health. Fermented foods like yogurt, kimchi, kefir, sauerkraut, kombucha, almost nothing influences your gut bacteria as much as the food we eat. Eat plenty of high fiber foods, so soluble fiber, which is in your fruits, your vegetables, legumes. And if you're going to take a powder, just make sure that you drink or powdered fiber. Make sure you drink a lot of water, because if you don't, you get serious cramps. And I sort of know that from experience. And lastly, it's really important to limit the use of NSAID. That ibuprofen, it can also contribute to leaky gut syndrome. And we talked about the autism, the depression, and dementia that can be caused from leaky gut. So a couple other ways that I suggest to help with gut issues is detox. Finnish people know this as sauna. We have the second largest Finnish population in the world here in Thunder Bay, and they know their saunas. And not the final way, but one last suggestion that I have is intermittent fasting. So that's just not eating in the evenings after you've gone to bed. So that 8-hour, 12-hour period. So you're not starving yourself. It's not a diet. You're just not eating for the 10 to 12 hours between the previous night's meal and the next morning meal. Doing this can actually alter the gut bacteria in your stomach. So that is actually the end of my slideshow. And one last thing is this quote: if there's anything to know about the human body, it's this: the human body has a ringmaster, controls your digestion, your immunity, your brain, your weight, your health, and even your happiness. And that ringmaster is your gut. I'm wondering if you have any questions. Is fasting dangerous? Not typically if you're currently healthy. It can be if you have any other serious issues or if you're on medication. So talk to a health professional before starting, or just start doing 3 to 5 hours of intermittent fasting. I'm young. Isn't this an older person's problem? Absolutely not. You need to start taking care of yourself today to minimize more serious issues in your later life. I'm a college student. I have so much stress in my life. Is it even possible to remove stress from my life? Absolutely. Try some mindfulness, mindful eating, yoga. Some certain moves will actually help digest your food. Meditation, taking time to go outdoors, realizing what's important, and most importantly, living in the moment, living in today, not yesterday, not tomorrow, and determining what makes you happy today. What about probiotics? I've heard of prebiotics. What are those? Probiotics are the live, good bacteria in your stomach, and you can get that from yogurt, sauerkraut, kombucha. Prebiotics are actually the foods that feed the probiotics, like dandelion greens, raw garlic, onions, and even bananas. So can I actually make my own prebiotics? Probiotics? Absolutely. It's easy to make your own fermented probiotic foods. You just need a little cabbage, a little salt. Actually, you need a whole head of cabbage and a little bit of salt. And you can start with an easy sauerkraut recipe on the web. If you have questions, recipes, just email me. For more information, you can get a hold of a naturopath like Tracy Cook, who's my naturopath here in Thunder Bay, Tara Quinn, who's a fermentationist that puts on regular courses on fermenting, and someone like Tim Liscombe at Tim's Whole Health. He is a brilliant man that knows infinite knowledge of health issues. So hopefully you've got people like this in your area. I hope you enjoyed the slideshow, and thank you again.